Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. So, if you're laser focused on understanding the absolute frontier of artificial intelligence right now, you are in exactly the right place. On June 9th, 2026, Anthropic released Claude Fable 5. And man, it is completely making us rethink what AI can actually do. Because this isn't just another incremental model update with, slightly better test scores. It's a massive shift toward true autonomous collaboration. But, as you'll see, with all that power comes a whole new set of really complex enterprise trade-offs. Let's dive right in and explore what Fable 5 can do, the architecture behind it, and the pretty intense security friction it's currently causing.
Okay, let's dive into this agenda really quickly. We'll start by looking at the shift to projects, not prompts. Second, we'll explore that massive million-token memory. Third, we'll unpack how Anthropic is splitting one model into two distinct products. Fourth, we'll examine the cybersecurity safeguards. And finally, we'll tackle the data retention controversy.
Section 1. Projects, not just prompts.
And this brilliantly illustrates the huge paradigm shift we're seeing right now. For a long time, the AI industry has been totally obsessed with the chatbot era, answering single questions as quickly as possible. But if you've ever tried to keep a complex project going with an AI, you know it eventually drifts or just degrades. Well, Fable 5 completely upends this. It is specifically optimized for long-horizon projects. It can work completely autonomously for hours, even days, constantly updating its own internal notes as it progresses. Actually, scratch that. It doesn't just maintain its performance, it actually gets better the longer a task runs.
To see this autonomy in action, the results are honestly pretty staggering. Fable 5 didn't just write a few lines of code. It built an entire solar system simulation, and it did it by deriving orbital mechanics from pure physical principles. It independently designed fully 3D printable CAD models, and get this, it can even autonomously play ridiculously complex logistics games like Factorio. So imagine having a digital collaborator that can take on massive software engineering tasks and run lengthy research workflows entirely on its own. It's a real game changer.
Section 2. A million-token memory. So you might be wondering, how exactly is it pulling off these massive multi-day projects? Well, 1 million. That is the sheer awe-inspiring size of Fable 5's context window. It can process 1 million input tokens all at once. And on the output side, it can generate up to 128,000 tokens. And to put the cherry on top, it does this for less than half the price of the previous Mythos preview model. We're talking just $10 per million input tokens and $50 per million output tokens.
But what does a million tokens actually mean in the real world? It means you can literally drop several large books, entire massive software repositories, extensive research archives, or huge technical document collections into the prompt all at once. So, the crucial point is this. Traditional external retrieval systems suddenly become much, much less important. Why? Because the AI can now hold the absolute entirety of your source material directly in its active working memory, all while maintaining completely coherent long-term plans.
If you want to know what 1 million tokens of context translates to intangible business ROI, look no further than this jaw-dropping story. Stripe, the payment processing giant, reported that Fable 5 performed a codebase-wide migration on a 50 million-line Ruby codebase in a single day. Just let that sink in for a second. 50 million lines of code. That is work that would otherwise take a dedicated team of human engineers over 2 months to complete. That is the incredible power of massive context combined with true autonomous capability.
Section 3. One model, two products.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Anthropic is handling this immense power. They've introduced a fascinating plot twist in their release strategy, using what's essentially an iceberg technique. They aren't just selling one product. For the general public, there's Claude Fable 5. This is the tip of the iceberg, which is actively running classifiers to intercept any sensitive requests. But lurking beneath the surface is Claude Mythos 5. This is the raw, totally unrestricted model, and it's only available to strictly vetted Project Glasswing cyber partners. All the standard safeguards, completely lifted.
Section 4. The cybersecurity safeguards. So you have to ask, why would a company intentionally throttle its absolute smartest model for 99% of its users? Simply put, because Anthropic discovered some very genuine, severe risks. Reports from those vetted partners showed that the unrestricted Mythos-class systems were unusually effective at finding vulnerabilities and developing exploits. Releasing this out into the wild unrestricted could materially increase global offensive cyber capabilities. They literally had to gate it. In fact, the UK's AI Safety Institute actually made some progress toward a jailbreak in their early tests. But thanks to the heavy guardrails placed on Fable 5, an external bug bounty produced 0 universal jailbreaks in over 1,000 hours of testing.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an incredibly innovative dynamic routing architecture. Instead of just dumbing down the entire model for everyone, Anthropic did something super clever. First, when you send a complex request to Fable 5, a specialized classifier scans the prompt. If it flags any potential risk, like cybersecurity, biology, or chemistry intent, it intercepts it right there. Then, the system dynamically falls back to the older, heavily guarded Opus 4.8 model, and it seamlessly notifies you of the switch.
And it turns out, this dynamic safety system is highly efficient. Over 95% of sessions require no fallback whatsoever. That means the vast majority of the time, users are getting the full, raw intelligence of Fable 5. Only 5% of the time, or even less, does a request actually trigger a route to the older model. It's just an incredibly elegant balance of giving us maximum capability while maintaining public safety.
Section 5. The retention controversy.
But of course, this safety architecture hasn't come without its own massive point of friction. 30 days. This single number is causing an absolute uproar among enterprise customers right now. Anthropic has implemented a mandatory 30-day data retention policy for all traffic running on these powerful Mythos-class models. And there are no exceptions. This applies across the board, covering both first-party usage and third-party API integrations.
If we look impartially at the fine print here, Anthropic clearly states this retention is strictly for safety monitoring, basically just to ensure these incredibly autonomous models aren't quietly building out major cyber or biological threats. They log all human access and absolutely promise the data is never used for model training, eventually deleting it all after 30 days. But hey, put yourself in the shoes of a major bank or a healthcare provider for a second. You operate on strict zero data retention policies. For those highly regulated enterprises, having proprietary data sit on Anthropic servers for a whole month is a total compliance nightmare. Right now, for a lot of these companies, these data logging rules matter far more than any raw benchmark capability the model has.
Which brings us to the ultimate question we all have to ask ourselves. Is the capability actually worth the compliance risk? On one hand, you have Fable 5, an AI that can ingest 1 million tokens at once and autonomously migrate a 50 million line codebase in a single day. I mean, it's a level of productivity that is almost unfathomable. But to harness that power, organizations must accept unprecedented security friction and mandatory data logging. As AI transitions from being a simple, helpful chat tool into a deeply powerful, autonomous enterprise engine, the trade-offs are becoming incredibly complex. So, think about it. How would your own organization handle that choice? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.